So this is my Shaddoll Fusion deck, I guess. I have a couple different versions of this that I'm playing with. This one right here is just the straight up Shaddoll Fusion polymerization build. The goal is just to fuse, but also have synchros and XYZ so I can play with. Because the Shaddolls are not too different from like the Dark Worlds in a way, with the concept of you're trying to send them to the graveyard to get their effects, but you also want to get something out of it, which makes them really awesome. Because when you fuse, you get something out of it. You know what I mean? So I got 6 polymerizations in this deck essentially, right? So I'm guaranteed to fuse. So I got Shaddoll V's, of course. It's when this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, draw a card. As you can see, I have Foolish Burial. This lets me activate any one of these effects because I send them to the graveyard by a card effect, so I get their effects. Shaddoll V's lets me draw when I send them to the graveyard. If this card is flipped face up, you can draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card, and that part of that effect activates the Shaddolls if I discard the Shaddoll. I got Shaddoll Dragon. It's the MST of the deck. Pitch him. Pop back row. In a later build, I might take out my bait dogs and MSTs and just to opt and just use him more often and probably add some more stuff into here, some more monsters. Maybe make a chaos build. We'll see. But for now, I essentially got I got 9 back row hate cards, right? Shaddoll Lizard. Oh wait, Dragon's flip effect is you can target 1 card, your opponent control, and return to the hand. So that's pretty good. Has the ability to return. That also applies for a monster. And since it's not destruction, Stardust can't stop it. Shaddoll Lizard. When this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can send another Shaddoll card, not monster card, from your deck to the graveyard. So it's a good way of getting the Shaddoll Fusion to the graveyard, then add it back to your hand with other other monster effects, and reuse it. Be able to go into a fusion. But I like to use it to send Shaddoll monsters so I can get the Shaddoll monsters effect. It's a good way of thinning out the deck. So I send Shaddoll Lizard, and I could send any of these. I could send Beast and draw a card right there. That's essentially 3 cards out my deck right off the bat. But I could send Lizard to the graveyard, right? Then send Falcon to the graveyard. Falcon's effect will special summon himself in defense mode. Then when he's flipped, I can bring back Lizard. Then when Lizard's flipped, I can target 1 monster on the field and destroy that target. So it's a nice little setup right there. Shaddoll Hedgehog. If this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can add a Shaddoll monster from your deck to your hand. So he's the rotor. He'll let me grab any of the monsters and add them to my hand, so that I can fuse with them, and get their effects. So you see, Hedgehog adds it to the hand, while Lizard sends them to the grave. So that's the effectiveness of them. Because what I could do is I can send, obviously, Lizard to the graveyard, get his effect to send Hedgehog, and this Hedgehog can add a Shaddoll monster from my deck to my hand. I could add a Falcon and then set the Falcon and get Falcon's effect, that type of stuff. And then this has the effect that when it's flipped, if this card is flipped face up, you can add 1 Shaddoll spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. So it also rotates the spells and traps. So that's also good. It's kind of like a Catavel Omen in a way, you know what I mean? So the ability to search out spells and traps is really good. I already mentioned Falcon's abilities. He's a tuner, so that allows you to do some synchro plays. So that's what I use him for that, of course. That's why I got Reincarnation Dragon, Samsara, Powered Insectron, Black Rose Dragon, Moonlight Rose Dragon, and Ancient Fairy Dragon. Mainly because Ancient Fairy Dragon is light and the 3000 defense ain't bad, plus its ability to let me special summon A level 4 lower monster once per turn. Helps with XYZ plays and whatnot. Maybe other synchro plays. Also, lets me get rid of any pesky field spells that I need to get rid of. And gain life on top of that. It doesn't hurt. But again, it's because it's light. Moon, light, Rose Dragon is also light. And so is Power and Zextron. That helps with the fusion summon of Nephilim. So, because she requires a light monster as fusion material, while the other one requires dark material, which is easy since the whole entire deck is dark types. I got the Shaddoll Fusion. Obviously, I confused with it. I can only play one of it once per turn. It has the ability that if your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from their extra deck, you can use monsters from your deck as fusion materials. That's just broken, right? that's like Dragon Shrine plus Polymerization combined, right? Because the ability to send from the deck to the graveyard the materials to make a fusion and then get those monsters effects, that's crazy. Plus, it thins out the deck. That's the thing. This deck thins out way too fast. Way too fast. So that's why I want to create a slightly different build where I have extra monsters, because I like, I like that concept. It thins out so fast. I need to make sure I have enough monsters in the deck to keep thinning out. Because remember, with the fusion aspect, see, it says dark monster. That means I can send anything. That means malevolent, malicious, destiny hero, malicious, plague spreader, things of that nature. Shit, Grapha if I want to make a dark world build with this. You get the idea. I mean, it's this like the concept is endless. Polymerization, just because it's another way of fusing. Because the main thing is you're trying to get a lot of the send effects, and then combo it with the flip effects. But mainly you're trying to get a lot of the send effects. Let's see. I don't think I mentioned Dragon's effect. Oh yeah, I did. I mentioned his flip effect. All right. So Bait Doll, MST. Regeki Break, red screen, the staples, you know what to do with them. Calling a Haunted so that I can bring them back, because the whole effect of them, if they're sent to the graveyard by a card effect. So if somebody MSTs your back row, like I say, somebody MSTs your face down, Call a Haunted, chain it, bring back one of the Shaddolls, MST will get destroyed. I mean, not MST, Call a Haunted will get destroyed. Call a Haunted will send the Shaddoll monster to the graveyard, and since the Shaddoll monster was sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you will get their effect. So that comes in handy. That's a good little play, especially if somebody does something like they'll Scrap Dragon and be like, Scrap Dragon, target my back row, target your face down, and then the face down is just Call Haunted. So you play Call Haunted, you bring back let me see, which one was it? No, it was the Hedgehog, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was, no, the Hedgehog is the Rhoda, so it was the Lizard. This card sent. Which one was the one that did it? Nope, not that one. Take one face up card your opponent controls, return that target. And this card is sent. Target spell. Okay, so I read it wrong. I was thinking you can get rid of the Scrap Dragon if this card is sent to a graveyard by card effect. You send one Shaddoll. Yeah, that has to do only with the flip. The thing is, you still can get the other effects. I won't be able to get rid of the Scrap Dragon. I thought I had a combo with Scrap Dragon to get rid of Scrap Dragon with Call a Haunted, but I don't. Because none of these have the send effect of send and destroy a monster. It has a flip and destroy a monster, which is the Lizard, but he has the effect when he sends. Point is, you can still get their effects. I just wanted a combo to get rid of Scrap Dragon in case you're ever in that position. But oh well. Shaddoll Roots. Special summon this card as a effect monster. It's a Spellcaster Dark level 9, which is interesting, right? Attack 1450 and defense 1950. That's pretty interesting. If summoned this way, you can substitute this card for any one fusion material monster listed by attribute on a Shaddoll Fusion. which means you can choose it to be a light type or dark type. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target one Shaddoll spell and trap card in your graveyard except Shaddoll's roots itself. Add that target to your hand. So this is a good card. I would typically like set it, get MST, get the effect to get the Shaddoll Fusion back, or I'll discard it with Regeki Break and get Shaddoll Fusion back. They make sure I can't get back Shaddoll Roots, because then that's just free discard fodder right there, right? But this, definitely has some potentials to use. The sending part comes in handy. I noticed something. They are similar to the Mighty Knight Assailant, because Knight Assailant is a flip effect monster that also has an effect that when this card is sent from the hand to the graveyard, target one effect monster in your graveyard except this card and add it to the hand. The fact that you can use Knight Assailant, you pitch him for a card effect or for the fusion summon, right, of a monster, get his effect to add one of the effect monsters in the graveyard and add it back to your hand. And all these monsters here are all flip effect monsters. That's the point. They're all flip effect monsters, so you can add them back to the hand with Knight Assailant. So it becomes like a dark eruption for the archetype. And I thought that was interesting. It's like, hey, they are not that different from Knight Assailant. They're like just more upgraded version, much a better version, right? So we used to use Knight Assailant, of course, for discarding. We used to use 2 copies, and we have an infinite discard fodder. Used it with a Dark Paladin, so we can infinitely stop spells. So that was always useful. We use them with anything. There's tons of monsters we used to use infinitely with to discard to get effects. Snipe Hunter. Make sure we guarantee we wipe out our opponent's field. All the good old combos. But this is interesting, the fact that you can pitch Knight Assailant for a card effect and then add a Shaddoll from the graveyard to the hand, and then use that Shaddoll, to do something with it. It's pretty cool. The fact that you can discard them and get their effects for card effects like Snipe Hunter, for example, Dark Paladin, and so on and so on. And since this deck fuse, you could pretty much you'll probably throw in Dark Magician and do some stuff, or you could throw in the Dark Magician, but throw in like the Eye of Timaeus and go into a Dark Paladin combo and be able to infuse into Dark Paladin, and then you could discard them whenever your opponent plays a spell card to negate their spell card effect and activate your Shaddoll's effects, and do some crazy little combos that way. And I got Foolish Burial just because it's not a bad top deck. Typically when if I top deck it, I play it to send a lizard. If there's lizard in the deck, send it to the graveyard, and then I will want to send a Falcon, because Falcon will special summon, so that way at least I have a monster to defend myself with. And then it will, when it gets flipped, I can bring back any of the other monsters I have in my graveyard. I can bring back, obviously, Shaddoll Beast, because he has a decent defense. Not the best defense in the world, but he has a decent defense. 1700 is good. And then there's his whole flip effect, comes in handy. Flip, draw 2, discard 1, So it kind of goes into like a pot of greed play. It's a way of, trying to make a comeback, right? Especially if you top deck in Foolish Burial. But it's not bad if you just go like first turn Foolish, send Shaddoll Lizard, then send Shaddoll Beast, then draw a card. That right there, you just thinned out your deck by 3 cards, right? Because let's say you draw 6, you play Foolish, you're essentially taking out 3 from the deck, you're replacing Foolish by drawing a card, so you'll still have 6 in your hand, and you have 3 less cards in your deck, which means you have 31 cards left. So you have a 31 card deck. You know what I mean? So that's not bad. And that's the thing, the ability to thin out and then access all your spells and traps, because there's more spells and traps in the deck than there are monsters. It has synergy. Gotchi. In case you use the Falcons and create them. Extra power boost always doesn't hurt. Zen mains, stall for the win, right? help get rid of back row. Exciton Knight, because he's broken. Number 1/1, because he's broken. I already mentioned Samsara, because his monster vulnerability, plus you can synchro into him. Powered Electron, because he's light and he has a decent effect. Black Rose to clear the field. Moonlight Rose Dragon, because it has a decent effect. Pretty good effect, I mean. And it's light. Ancient Fairy, because it's light. It can get rid of field spell, gain you life. It gives you extra normal summons for XYZ plays. El-shadoll Nephilim, because it has a decent effect. When it's special summoned, you can send a Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard. Typically, you might want to send a monster, get a monster effect out of it, of course. If this card battles a special summon monster, at the start of damage, to destroy that monster, so it has a catastrophe effect against monsters that were special summoned. El-shadoll Madrash, whatever, right? This card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. That's always a good effect, so you don't have to worry about getting Dark Hold. Neither player can special summon more than once per turn. That's definitely good against your opponent, obviously more so than yourself, but definitely good against him. Because I went first turn, summon her, set some back row in my turn, and my opponent summoned Gaga Magician, said level 7, but then he changed it to level 5. I'm like, alright, whatever. And then he played Instant Fusion. It's like, well, obviously there's your first special summon, you're not going to be able to exceed. And he was mad because he tried to exceed, and I told him he couldn't because he can only special summon once per turn, and he already did, and he rage quit. So I instantly won just because he couldn't go into an XYZ play. So definitely he was mad. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Shaddoll spell or trap card in your graveyard, add a target to your hand. So that's a good way of recycling your Shaddoll Fusion, you know, getting it back so you can play it over and over again. That's always good. So you could keep on spamming. And that's the end of the deck profile. There'll be some builds where I probably use deck devastation, but this one I'm not using it in. That's the end of the deck profile.